Hello and welcome back to the channel. So again, this is probably going to be a bit of an update video of what is going on, as a lot has been going on. Still have trains running around for the moment, and there was also a power issue that we had on the layout that we now know the cause of. So well, we had to do a lot of rewiring. We've had to get a new booster unit for the layout, so if I swing you around here, you can see we've now got a Z21 booster plugged into the start unit. We will be upgrading the start unit to the Pro version, as the start unit only has a 2 amp output, whereas the other version has a 3 amp, so due to the amount of rolling stock on the layout, we kind of need that. We've also had to include track isolation, so we've had to isolate the sidings off from the main. These just areas to see this are off all my freeways, so isolation's off here and other side, as the Class 90 and Raker Mark 3s come through. So because of one Raker carriages, I've had to isolate off large sections of the railway. So again, over here on this freeway, we've got isolations on either side. There happens to be a train sitting on it at the time. So all sidings are separately run from the booster unit. The reason for this is because of this rake coronation coaches. The 9 set rake, absolutely beautiful. However, on boot up, they have a 1.7 amp spike as it charges up the supercapacitors inside them. So, in order to remove their spike from everything else, we're going to put a delay activation timer on the siding. So the siding that train is on has been isolated from everything. We're still in the process of wiring up the sidings on this side to the main siding loop, so they won't be powered up just yet. If we swing around to the other side, again, this side's been isolated from the coronation set at the point with double isolation, or single isolation, because you'll need to say isolate one track. This side is widened with the booster unit, so again, sidings are separated from the main loop, so that train is travelling around on the main controller. But if anyone has had the issue or has had random cutouts with a coronation set on, it's morely resetting after a short that my controller didn't have the required power to reset, but my controller only has a 2 amp output. With the amount of other trains I got on the layout, I can see why that spiking at 1.7 alongside all my other stock coming on with controller saying no. So progress has slowed yet again on this layout, as at this point we've got the deal show for Swanage in 2 weeks, and then month after, in April, we have the Swanage show. I'll be attempting to put flyers up as I'm mentioning this, and I'll put flyers up for all shows at this point if I have them, which I don't have all of them, so but I'll give you a rundown of the repair works happening to the layout downstairs at the moment, as I am going to need to take the power unit off of this layout so I can take it downstairs. So yeah, there's been a lot of change to the layout, and it's not visible because it's all due to wiring and isolating due to one set of carriages. So look into the future to see how much of an issue the new supercaps will be for Hornby. They might need to add a feed reducer to slow down the power going into the supercaps, but that would just be my recommendation. If anyone else has this particular issue, feel free to drop a comment down. I'd like to see if anyone else is having the same issue that I am, with not being able to reset the tracks whilst you've got that and other trains on your track. I've already inquired this with Hornby themselves. They can't seem to replicate the issue. But it was to the point of, if I had a short circuit on the trail, like let's say that train going around had tripped out on something, the coronations would be preventing me from resetting the tracks because it would be overloading the supply being given to the tracks. We took the trains off, put them on a separate bit of track with a transformer, hooked in a multimeter, and that's when we got a value of 1.7 amps being drawn. So yeah, anyone else gets that type of an issue, drop it in the comment, let me know. I'd like to see if I'm the only one getting this particular problem, or if anyone else with a bigger layout has had a high draw on their layout on the initial startup. Only lasts for about a second and then it bounces out, but it's enough for my controller to say no. Right, with that bit out of the way, and having shown you the way I've got around it, so I will be putting a 5-second delay circuit on them powering up with the layout. Just got to design and install that, as well as wire up the rest of the yard. Then we're going to be back on to checking over all the point motors, replacing burnt out ones, and yeah, hopefully in a little while we'll have the lower level complete and done. Once the lower level's done, we can start looking at the incline to get to the upper level, which would be very good to get to. Right, next stage, we're going downstairs to where I've set up part of Swanage, and then we'll go through some of the upgrades and the repair works that are currently ongoing. Right, so now that I've finished upstairs for a little bit, we're back working on this, as we're, like I said, 2 weeks from the deal show. So doing tests, doing checks. We've got the station building removed at the current point of time, as well as canopies, which are down there at the moment. Canopies were showing a lot of the stress, so we've got brand new brass I-beams installed on them, as well as had to fix some of the lighting, and quite a lot of these beams were actually broken. So that's that one. Then we've got this one, which same issue, so we've got 2 new ones to take the power down, and another one for structural support against the platform, because the layout travels on its side quite a lot, so it took a lot of sideways motion and got damaged. So platform is out temporarily. I hope to get it back in this week. A new addition to the layout is one of these. Now this is a tiny camera, one of which is actually mounted on the layout right here. So if I have that there, and I grab another phone which is sitting over here, so that is the video feed from the camera under here. So if I was to put that there, the reason we have this is to assist with uncoupling in the station. One of my operators suggested it, thought it was a reasonably good idea, so we've installed it. Hence the 08 sitting down the track. So if I put that there, then grab my controls, so you should be able to see feed on tablet is currently looking at that wagon. Okay, so she's refusing to do it herself. So you can see up top the feed from the camera. Oh, never mind. She had actually uncoupled. Just the wagons are rolling because of the magnetic force. So that would differ for carriages. So other things that we are testing at the moment are point systems, signalling systems. Basically, if it's a system, we are running tests on them all. So yeah, we ain't going to get too far as we've actually only got 2 panels connected at the point in time. But it is good for me to be testing all of these features. So for instance, we have features like the signals, which are both working there. We have this end set points, which are good. Welder's still working, everything seems to be working as intended. Got an ice cream fan, which is good. Then we've got the station sounds. I ain't going to go into the other sounds, so just checking that it actually initiates the whistle. So, yeah, as always, there's a lot of work going on in the background. I'll give you a little sight of underneath, show you the camera a bit more. So, there's a hole in the wall at the moment. In these wagons, we've got the original bits of walling, which we'll put them back in place, allowing a little slot for the camera to see out of, as the camera only really needs from about there to there. So this little slot here is all the camera really needs. So I've got to reinstate the wall along here and a little bit on that side. Then retain the top stones to go along in front. So it's a small project. So yeah, we'll move all of these wagons out of the way. We've also got a couple more collapsed people on the layout. So we've got one here. I've had to re-secure all the benches in place, dust the vehicles off, as this layout's been in storage since the last show last year. So we've got a few bits of dust on it. I still need to clean all the rails off, and then once the station building goes back in place, this panel is all good to go back away, and then we'll bring down the other half of the layout. As I need to mount this phone. Now this is an old S8, a Samsung S8, so it's not been used as a phone in a long time, but that's what we get with the camera. So you can see the Wi-Fi, the battery, so it's a pretty decent camera. You can see me moving in the mirrors as well, so the camera won't actually be able to see the mirrors once the building goes back in, because the building sits literally in front of it. We've also had to do a bit of repair work to our platform in a few spots due to where the canopies came off and tore the platform. We also got damage caused by the building. So a little bit of touch-up paint will need to be applied. So yeah, we've got little bits to touch up which have been knocked in transit, and then she'll be ready for the next show, and we look forward to seeing anyone that turns up. But before then, let's flip it up and get you a look under the panel to show you the work that's gone on underneath. Okay, now that we're underneath the panel, we've got a new voltage regulator for the platform canopy lights, so we can lower the voltage on those, stop them blowing out again. So we've also installed a new USB outlet under the board, which is in a 3D printed framework tapped into the other outlets on the back. So that just powers this, which is the camera. We can see where our magnets are under the board for the uncouplers. These are additional magnets to strengthen the uncouplers. So we've got the camera mounted upside down in this 3D printed frame. I'll put a picture up in the side of how the assembly looks before it was put in. So you can see where the camera mounts, which is sticky padded in, so you can actually see the sticky pads here, or double-sided tape. It was mounted upside down so you have access to the power buttons. So the good thing about this camera is the second it gets power through its charging lead, it turns on. They're actually meant for like security cameras and that sort of stuff. So they have an 8-hour battery backup. So after turning that off, the phone is now searching for it. But this camera gives off a Wi-Fi signal hotspot of its own, which is what the phone is tethering to. So that's really only the major difference that I've done recently. I mean, I've probably not talked about the new single larger cable that goes through the base that now goes off to our power station. So it's longer, better, and it takes all the powers in one single cable now rather than 2 combined cables. So only real change to have happened under here is, since recorded, new cable. We've added a USB connection for that, and yeah, the rewiring of the canopy lighting to stain it on a lower voltage, as I believe the high voltage is what caused the lights to blow, so I've taken steps to reduce it. Also done a bit of cable tidying up with staple gun, so trying to neaten it up. So with that all said, thank you for watching if you are still watching, and I will expect to see you in the next episode, in the next video, or at our next shows if you attend those. But as always, feel free to subscribe and like the video if you want, and I'll catch you in the next one.